Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
There is a huge burden on you who became satellites. Try to understand that with what happened in Linz this week and with the first test, we have set a precedence for the whole change of the structure. Your child cries, he doesn't talk. You reach his soul, you understand where the pain is. You have a mentally handicapped child. You want to know how you can bring the change. You reach the soul. Does the physicality matter? Those of you who are beautiful people will come to understand, to see all the members of the family within the one physical structure. We shall see from what we saw this week, end of what I call, or the beginning to an end of the knowledge of what we build and nourish as prisons. We see an end to addiction. We see an end to criminality, and we see an end to kingship. We see the beginning of how we transmute people's soul, elevate them, nourish them, and like a dream you had, return back to them. What we saw this week in Linz, without a doubt, will bring massive changes to many of us. And as a head of Keshe Foundation and responsible for setting up the One Race Planet, as I have agreed before I arrived here, will endeavor to bring that as fast as possible to be applicable. That it brings a positive change. The world is going through a position of mayhem, not knowing uncertainty, and this uncertainty is creating more problems in the coming months and years, and we are here to use it to change the course for peace. We are not standing for elections, we are not standing to interfere with powers. We elevate the soul of the man in a very massive way. Now there are physical systems, and it can be shown and it'll be developed for all levels of understanding. This process of transmutation of the soul and transmutation of soul of physicality, which is confirmed this week, will bring us many, many changes. Will bring us amazing amount of changes. I hope, as human race, as knowledge seekers, you understand what you have entered into and what you have brought to be, and what is about to come, and how much change it will come and bring for all of us.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 518th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 28th, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Cram, and I'll be host today for this workshop, as in the previous 517 workshops. And also we are joined with Mr. Mehran Keshe, who started these workshops some 517 workshops ago. And here we are still carrying on, Mr. Keshe, and coming into yet another year with next week's workshop. So congratulations for getting through another year of these, and let's carry on here. So are you ready to begin?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual. Wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As usual, we welcome you back, and I hope for those of you who believe in the path of Christ had a wonderful Christmas. And I'm sure in the next few days you'll celebrate the Christian New Year, and then we go back to normal till another one arrives somewhere. Most probably we come to the Chinese New Year in 9th of February, and then we have the Iranian New Year in 21st of March, and then more New Years, and forever New Years. We are good in celebrating. I hope you enjoy it in whichever and wherever you are. The process of the teaching of the past few weeks has brought us into a very nice position. And as all of you know, our teaching does not end up with Thursday sessions. We do a lot of research, a lot of work in the background, which you as knowledge seekers come in and will see that life carries on with the same manner, the same way for all of us.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Just lost your voice there.
one of the...
It's back now.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you now, yes, clearly.
Yeah, clearly, yeah. Last week's teaching was one of the, what I call, very fundamental. Opening your eyes into how you're connected to the Creator and how you are part of the creation, and you end up creating something somewhere. In a way, the image you want to create, when you land somewhere in the dimension of your, what I call, soul, has already, is a dimension of another soul which has landed to be part of the fields of your creation, which is your Creator. If we understand this, if you understand the potential and the gravity of the knowledge passed on last week, a lot of you will come to understand the new beginning has started for so many souls, for so many of those who become aware of this change, of this progress, of this new way of living, this new way of considering to be part of and to be in and to be part of totality. Why does Keshe Foundation follows this path? Why Keshe Foundation works on this way of new dimension as a scientific organization? What has our work and our life has to do with the soul? Why do we have to take this path that we try to, what I call, connect to be part of? And how we collaborate the knowledges of the past, the present, and what will be part of the knowledge of the future. One of the most interesting things for man is to go back to understand what was in the past, what is in the front, and where we are today. The knowledge of the soul has been the part which we never understood. We understand the physicality. We made medicines for it. We made tools for it. We move it around. We get a donkey on it, and we get on the donkey, and everything other ways we move it. And as I said from the very, very, very first teachings, the soul of the man has been leached on by the physicality of the man. And now that we come down the training, some 500 and odd teachings, now we understand the leaching is still on, unless we try to change it. And the leech is not actually the physicality of the man. The leech is the magnetic field environment, which dictates the manifestation of the, what we call the physicality. In a way, you put the soul anywhere, and in respect and in interaction with its environment, it manifests itself in physicality of literally what it'll be. It's like a door. How you heat it, how you warm it, how you manifest it, will turn up to what it be, and what the environment puts in that dough. It becomes a bread, it becomes a cake, it's something else, and whatever else. But in fact, in essence, it's still the same flower, the same dough, the rays of the creation of the Creator. Once we understand this, man then decides which way to travel, which way to move. We chose to ignore. Religions brought this to us, to ignore our weaknesses in respect to our environment, brought us to accept and make up things without actually going within. We saw fire, we copied. We saw wind, we copied. We saw bird, we copied. But we never copied the dimension of the creation. We never copied what our Creator created. We structure ourselves in copying matter states, but we never structured to understand to copy the magnetic field strength, which creates the matter, the essence of the fields of the universe. Then a structure like Keshe Foundation becomes nomad because we are in both sides, we teach both, and we understand which way you want to go. And as I always say, in Fox we say, if you don't want to be standing out, become part of the crowd. So, as becoming part of the crowd, we taught you about the Ganses and everything else, which we said, to bring you to the point of understanding of your soul. But still, you have to understand what this soul does when it goes back. If you go back to the history of man, history of the understanding of the man, his culture, going back to the time before any religion started, people created themselves gods because they saw they needed strength, they saw they needed power, they saw they had to be connected to something bigger. They never understood that they are that bigger part. Then when they became more physical, they built the statues, goddesses, and became more physical. We still are in that dilemma of physicality, worshipping statues, and we are fooling ourselves because we are modernized, we are educated. Up to now, statues we worship were on stones, in temples, and in God knows places. But with Christianity, we became one step more mature. We carry the statue around our neck. There's no difference. We are still pagans. Look at the cross. You celebrate the Christmas. And have you changed anything from the time of pagans? Not really. You manage to break down the temples and the statues, and you brought it around your neck. And to show you are more powerful and you are more understand the situation around you, you put a statue of a man on top of it, which the Roman wanted you to do. So in a way, in one shape or another, we still carrying with the worshipping of physicality and statue. In the writing, we carried around our neck as an Allah and a moon. We carried as a cross. The Jews put a star, and we worship different things in different dimensions. We haven't come to the point to put these things away. And we celebrate it. The sign of Mecca, which means the moon, is become a symbol of Islam. That's why Muslims have the moon. Mecca, in the traditional name of the what we call the peninsula of Saudi Arabia, means moon. And when they chose to become the capital, they become the sign of the moon. And that's the sign of Islam, which means the city of Mecca. Now, you carry the cross with you, you celebrate it with, and you put a man who later on in 3 months' time you put it on it, you call it the cross. And you put it in new temples, new house of statues, you call it the churches. You walk in the church, you still see him hanging there. You haven't changed from paganism. You just made it more glorified that we all carry that around our neck. And the Jews do the same with the Star of David and the rest of it. And it's always been there. With the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, by understanding the structure of the soul, you understand you are detached from these things. You are connected to the Creator. You're connected to the, what you call the light of the soul of the man. And this will bring you more knowledge. This brings you more understanding. This brings you to understand not to be afraid of a building, of a, what I call stadium, or whatever else we put them at. The actual field of the play of the soul is the universe. The field of the play of the man in dimension of physicality, for it to be itself, is only earth. In our teachings, in the process which comes to understanding the process, we become more and more, we bring it into the name of some subconscious understanding, even we put it on our flags. It's another way of worshiping. And we don't let it go, because we never understood what the soul is. It's us, within us. If you look at different flags with the different emblems in the center of it, it's another way of worshiping. It's another way of paganism. It's a way of statues we put on. If you study how deep-rooted this worshipping statues comes onto, you'll be amazed. Years ago, I studied the flag of Iran. Why the Muslims, when they came into power, they brought us the moon, and then when we got the Ayatollahs, they got all sorts of curvatures of the moon, they put him in the flag. What does this mean? It's another worshipping a statue. The old flag of Iran, we had a lion with a sword in the hand and the sun, which was the totality of another way of worshipping God. When we say Shah, and then Shah and Shah means to you, king of the king, but Shah word comes from the word in the time when man understood the power of the Creator. God means Shah. When we call it the Shah, means God of the gods. The word Shah comes in a deep-rooted, what we call culture, which means the sun, rise of the sun with warriorship, because it comes from the word which means the sun rises from the east with a war and warring attitude. So they chose a lion with the sword. But it comes with the rise of the sun. They put the sun on top of the lion. And nobody ever understood. We actually, the word Shah means God. God of the gods. And subconsciously, we don't understand it now. But during the time of the past, it meant God of the gods. You change it to kings, and then you put different things on it. So you see, subconsciously, the creator and the power of creation has brought us this. In the old ancient time, the gods were two gods. Gods which rises from the sun side, from the east, and a god which sits on the east side. The rise of the sun on the west side always was a fighting god, had to fight and just come to create. And then, because it came with the rise of the sun, they made the lion as to be that fighting, which always win. The lion was the powerful one, wins all the wars with the sword, which was the man's fighting. And then they put the sun on top of it, which came to be the second Shah, which is the god of the gods. One is the god of light, and one is the god of fight and power. And subconsciously we became that way. Look at the other nations' flag. We have continuously followed the same way. Muslims came with the moon. Again, paganism, we still worship. Mecca came from south of the peninsula. Market, the city of market didn't exist the way we know today. It's a stone we see, is a culture we came from the South Peninsula up, and it became part of the stone people worship in another direction. So it has never changed. We went from the flag, we went from the places we worshipped, and everything else, we always relied on our environment. But we believed in something above us, the God. And then everybody changed the name in a different way to fit, to suit. Because man never understood his soul is the creator, is connected to the creator. When you look at the name of Islam, again means all language of Middle East means the creator. Islam means has come from the creator. Muhammad chose it deliberately because at the time people understood this is the religion of the creator. That's why they turned to it. Go back to the root of the names. Why you call it Shalom? It's again the same. Why you call it Jerusalem? This all comes from the same name, the God, the creator, where the God of East versus the God of West. The God of West goes with Shalom, which means the peaceful one. When you sit on the West, Jerusalem sits on the west side of the hall before the what we call the sea, and it was where the peace lands, land of peace, land where the direction of peace is. So we don't understand, we've forgotten about the root of our language, and those who understood have abused it or used it to dominate us. All the words we talk is all connected, especially in the Middle East and Christianity, Judaism, Islam, is all come around the time when our ancestors understood the creator, and we lost that track. They didn't worship statues, they didn't put a cross up. People used it, where understood it, to put it on. The same when we talk about Suleiman. Suleiman is the same. It comes from the same basic word, which means the one who possesses peace through God. When we say salam, it's the same. It means peace. It means what it came from the language of the past 3, 4, 5,000 years ago, but now to us just a word because we forgot the culture. And those who understand it abused it. And the teaching of Keshe Foundation is to bring this into light. That you understand you are the light. Doesn't matter you live in the East, you live in the West. You rise from one side and you go to the other side. So the teaching of the Keshe Foundation, it brings about the teaching of the past, understanding of the past, the culture, and the present time, and the freedom of man from dimension of physicality. Go and find, now we have the freedom of the internet, about the culture of your language, what the words mean, and how we come to hear, and how our rulers and the priests and others have abused even themselves, not understanding, but knowing that it controls the physicality to control the soul of the man, then it can be done. Man will never find his freedom, the freedom of his soul, the freedom is connection to his creator. Understanding the history of the man, as I said before, everything else could be faked. We made a fake Bible to suit the Romans. We made part of the Quran the same. If we go down into the detail of the Quran, we find out how much of it is made up, doesn't match, doesn't work. And the same worse is with the Jews, and the worse lot the Baha'is and the Buddhists, all faked it up. All made fake bigger because they had to match the others. Now that you know the dimension of your soul, nobody can fake it. Because it's for you. You can travel the strength, the fields of the universe. And this is where you have to choose. We create the tools. We bring the dimensions for you to understand how you manage to travel the body of the man in aircrafts, a car, and a donkey. Now, how you travel the soul of the man on the field, the strength of itself, with no donkey, no aircraft, because it possesses the strength field of the travel, the speed of the soul of the Creator. It's you who decide where to manifest it, where to slow it down, where to change certain parameters to give its manifestation, and pack it up and go and somewhere else open tents in another way. Then a lot of things comes clear. When we tell you we've been here thousands of years, it's the same. We pick a soul of the man, we open a tent. It comes the time of the Moses. We pack the tent up, we travel around, we turn up again in another dimension of physicality. We call it time of Christ, and then Muhammad and the rest. But it's the same nomad. It's the same soul. Then you understand what journey your soul has to do, to take, and where to go. And when you are knowledgeable in the soul, then when it comes to time of you becoming the Creator, you don't let these abuses in the time where the soul of the man was abused, in the physicality of the man. Sometimes we go even crazier than crazy. We do it, we stick it on our head to remember that how stupid we are. We call it the turbine. If you see some of the Jews, they have a little black block in front of their forehead. Instead of banging into the wall of the Great Wall, they put it in there and they bang, it bangs on their forehead around the day and night. Then we ring it as a bell in the temples of Tibet, and we do everything else with it, or bang our head 17 times a day on the floor in the name of Islam. To make sure that soul is engaged and we can use the physicality in whatever name we need. And as I said, many people don't like it because they can't rob you. The guy can't have a cushy life, given tens of thousands as a priest, and mullahs, and the rabbis, and the rest, even though they can't even read the books of the God, which they created themselves. Then you understand, as there are no books in the dimension of the soul of the man, no one can cheat and no one can become a rabbi and ayatollahs. We work with all, we work with both dimensions because we are aware of their weaknesses and aware of the strength of the soul of the man. In the process of the creation, man has to understand this, that not only not to be abused on earth, then when it becomes a traveler of the space, he doesn't allow his soul to become abuser of the others. And the second is more important than the first, because here on the physical dimension, you're abused to abuse. Going through this process of understanding, going through this process of what I call completion of the process, we gradually brings you to the point that you will see, you will understand that the others will see your soul. And when you come back to the dimension of physicality, then you believe you have that. It's so much when you're hypnotized, you do things you don't believe can be done. When they show you the video of what you've done, you say, this is not me, I didn't do this. Or when we allow the soul of the man to take over, and then we video it, and then we say, no, I could not do that. As I said to you, I did that deliberately in a few cases where we were involved in getting a woman who has more or less no brain, where the soul part was not touched, to walk. And when she sat on the bed, we showed the video, she said, I cannot walk. I said, this is your video, walk it. Because we walk the soul, not the physicality. And the soul takes over the dimension of physicality. We showed that with Naomi in the hospital, as I said before. So we know how to get the soul of the man to change the physicality. And as I said, we are not magicians. We never show magic. We explain what we do, then you understand. And in that process, is for you to understand the strength of your soul. And once you understand that the strength goes back to the ethos of Mitra, think good with it, talk good with it, and act good with it. Because even the souls think and talk and do things. The soul has a soul, soul has a structure, and this is how you communicate. And in that process, you show the manifestation of your beauty. Our job as teachers is for you, for us, to both understand the value of the knowledge of the creation. For all of us to understand the dimension of the creation in both dimensions of the physicality, be it on this planet, on the moon, another position in the universe, but the same soul. Just because you wear a clothes of a monkey does not make you a monkey, does it? Because inside is you. When you go to another dimension and your physicality change, the soul is still your soul, irrespective of dimension, position. And this is why we brought in the transmutation. Which means up you now, you transferred, you traveled, now you transmute. You travel in the body of the man, you transfer the body of the man from one place to another, in another box or whatever. Now you learn to transmute, which means travel with the strength of the energies of the universe, with your energy and not your physicality. Then it comes the point, how would I accept the change? How would I not be frightened of what I see? Denying my own existence, when I'm moved in the strength I appear, for what I've done, or what I control, I end up to be a stone. And somebody takes a picture, you were not there, you transmuted, you're a stone. That stone is you. Now you understand the teaching says even the stone has a soul, because it's you who has changed so that the stone. Now we come to another point and dimension of understanding. Now that you have this knowledge, what are you going to do with it? Now that you establish the connection to other souls, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to practice it, strengthen it, and enjoy both as you enjoy the walk to go to the park, or you take the car to go to the park, but at the end the same physicality ends up in the park, and the same pleasures comes to you. Doesn't matter you walk to get there or you drive to get there. What would be the dimension of the pleasures of the soul of the man? Do we go to a soul party, or do we go to a man's party? These are the points that we have to face. These are the points that, especially those of you who are going through the different phases of the teaching of the Keshe Foundation outside of Thursday's sessions, are gradually facing. And you have no choice in wanting it or not. You start feeling the changes, the dimension of the changes, and what it and how you have to handle it. Or how much more can you deny it till one day comes on you and then say, I didn't know this is it. And the denial and the ignorance, you. The truth shall not change. The existence of your soul within you cannot change. It's how you find your way to it, which affects you, will become the point of the change for you, and the change for those who understand the work you do, and how you work around that, and how you work with it, and you understand it, and how you bring the change to your soul, to your physicality. And to what extent this dimension of physicality will change. We are going through the phases of the teaching on Thursdays that we see a large number of knowledge seekers are reaching that point. And this is why I put this consolidation talks for them to understand is nothing wrong. And what they've been through, what they go through, is part of the process to gain confidence, to go to the next step. With the weekly and monthly teachings and what I call the workshops as a teaching as today, and the workshops where practically you're getting involved in what I call our Fridays once or twice a month, is practical. What we do, what practically we do. What we learn in the teaching, in theory, you put in practice in what we call physical workshops. But this time, we don't show you how to make magraphs. We create a dimension and condition that your soul can travel, that your soul can expand, that your soul can communicate in one thing to another. Gradually, step by step, more and more of you will come to learn that one. We still do the test, we're still making systems to become more powerful, we make systems to become more effective, that we can do a better job, but at the end, the whole process of the teaching is one way or another to bring as many as you into understanding the totality, that you in a coming time become the teachers, to teach the others how to go through this, how to teach the others to be able to travel in the dimension of the soul of the man. And this is part of my work, and this is part of what I've endeavored to do in past years. And now we're reaching that point. The reason we carry on with it till we reach a momentum mass that more and more of you can do this. More of you can transmute and transfer and travel in both dimensions. That you don't call it a dream, because now I do. You don't call it, oh darling, I was just thinking this before you say, where you actually felt the emotion and the soul spoke, and as you dream in your dreams and you remember some of it, is the information which he receives, you already received, and say, oh, I was just thinking about this, but not, it's not a dream anymore, because we talk on the soul level as much as physicality. And this is the purpose of these teachings. It does not matter if you fall asleep in the teachings of Thursdays, or you fall asleep in the what I call physical workshop of the Friday, because it's your physicality locked out, not the soul of them. And then when you travel in that dimension, has no limitation. Oh, I fell asleep during the workshop, and I went there, and there I felt this, because, sorry to say so, on Friday's workshop, we got nothing to do with your physicality. You can pack it up and take it anywhere else. You can have the headphones in the bath. You can have it while you're driving. You can have it while you're traveling. You can have it while you're climbing, and you can have it while you're asleep. Because we reach your soul. Your physicality can do whatever it likes, as long as you keep it quiet, keep the microphone shut. And then you understand how much we are entering, teaching you in the dimension of the energies of the universe. You are learning about yourself. You're learning about your environment. You're learning how and the way you have to handle the environments to come. The way you bring the fields of the universe to be part of you, to connect you with, to interact with, and how to transfer you across to another position and dimension. For your physical life, you get on a bus, you change train at the station, you go to different airports. In a dimension of physicality, you do that with your soul. And if you need dimension and connections, in the physicality of the soul of the man, we have settled with you with what we call the satellite souls, which they come into operation. Which those of you which go through the span of the universe, we're given universal council members. Now you understand how the process was preset long before we bring you to here. When you build a bridge, you have to put a foundation in. You have to the post in, and then you have to pillars on before you build the bridge, and you put a track on it. We've done all that. Those of you who are the satellite souls, you soon find out why you became. It's not you. Your soul has chosen you. You run away from the physicality when you come back to it. but you have to understand how you have structured yourself. Those of you who became Universal Council members gradually will come to understand the new dimension without you knowing, but it's there, and how you will hear the help call and what I call signals of the souls in the universe. Those who are satellites will do it for the man on earth. In a way, we have built the whole foundation. The foundation of the what we call transmutation, where your kings and your rulers and presidents and governments build you the roads and the train and the stations for your physical dimension. But this time, there is no pilot. This time, there is no driver. This time, there is no abuser. And this time, is you who does all that. As I said to a friend of mine, we all become a woman, because now we can't say we are a man because it's multitasking. They always tell us as a man in a physical dimension.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think we've lost the audio there.
You are more than the rest at the same time. So, in one way or another, with these teachings, I try more and more to explain to you more and more about yourself, about your creator, which is your soul. I don't tell you
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Your voice is breaking up there.
do this or do that, and you don't need to do anything else. Because now you control your own soul. You control your own dimension. You are in charge of it. You are responsible for it. And you can't blame no one for it, because itself finds its time, place and position according to what you've done with it or what you do with it in the dimension of physicality. You can still get on the plane, or you get on the transmutation of the field of the universe to the same journey. You like to sit 18 hours in a plane to go one place to another, or 4 days to get to the moon, or 4 seconds to the soul and go and see. In totality, the time we are in, and we are in the last week of 2023, the evolution in science and transmutation will start from next year, from next week. How it's said to be is the decision that your forefathers' soul has set it to be. We are just here playing the part. We are not making a decision for it. As your forefathers' soul decided, you call it this time of 2024, this time of 1,400 and something, and 1,500 something, or 6,000 something. Somehow, the environment of the energies, fields of the universe, in the coming weeks, in the coming time, reaches the point of the maturity for man to go through that evolution. How the technology came to be ready for it, how the nations become to ready for it, how the religious leaders came to be ready for it. Blame it all on the soul and not on the man. The coming time of weeks and months is the time when maturity of the totality of the soul of the man gradually starts to build up. Maybe we call it the year of judgment, the years of when the man will learn to release that cage from the what I call prison is made what its soul. And in that process, many of you as a human race and the rest will mature to it. And the process of the freedom of the man to be able to travel the span of the universe, to become and bring man to be part of the universal community starts. In a way, when we call it universal community, is the interaction with the soul of the other creatures of the universe. You do not need, in the dimension of universal community, to see something in physical dimension as a UFO, as an alien, or whatever. When you travel in a dimension of universal community, you interact with the dimension of the soul, with the dimension of the fields, not with UFOs and the rest, that we became part of universal community. You become part of universal community when you accept the existence and the process of the work of your own soul. And anyone can become part of it. We usually, traditionally become part of it when we put the physicality in the grave and we call it death. But now you have that choice. That death will never come, because you can leave the old body of the man in his 90s and travel with a fresh soul across the universe for thousands of years. And maybe one day you come back to bring that physical old body back to earth and be here when you're 5,000 or 10,000 earthly time. In the future, we'll teach you about the life and what I call age of the soul. Because soul do not have age in a way, but they have a strength which shows their time of the travel, or in a way interaction of the fields of within them gives you a dimension of the maturity of the soul. The souls mature, they don't age, because time does not exist. The world of the creation is man who made the time. Then you understand step by step. Physicality has a limitation of the building, planet, time, light, where the soul has no limitation at all. And whenever you want to put a limitation on it, you bring it to the dimension of physicality. And then one day, how we transferred and how we transmuted, how we stayed in the deserts and God knows best places in the universe, I'll explain. One day I opened the books, which none of you will ever go to mosque, because you find out the truth about the mosques. One day none of you will walk into no churches, as partially you know the truth about. And one day there'll be no need of Judaism left, as every man who believed in it will be ashamed to take his dimension of physicality to that point, place and position. Then you understand how this journey has started and where we are taking you. How you are going gradually, step by step, in the dimension of travel by soul and leaving the physicality behind. In the test of last Friday, for the very first time, we saw digitally, we saw through equipments and what we have, how you all left your physical life. The first time we thought was coincidence, second time was confirmation, and the third time was a fright in all of you that you did not want to do it because it was too real. And we have gained such a knowledge. We know exactly how to bring you to that point. And then once you learn yourself, you do it yourself. As those of you who joined us in that special giving, that physicality had no dimension, and you left it all behind. We invited you, most probably as knowledge seekers who joined last Friday, to a second session next Friday, to go through the same, to get the confirmation of what you've been through. And it's not that you felt anything, it is that you felt nothing. That's the whole beauty of it. The peace, the joy. And as many of you said, you did not know where you were, but it was a peaceful place. You find peace within you and your soul. You took the journey that a lot of people call coming back from death, because the joy was there. You went through, but now you're learning. For those of you who went through this, we have invited you already. Check your emails to join us next Friday. We want to take you through the same journey. And if you remember, in the process of the journey last week, very unusual, we asked you, if you remember, in the last 10 minutes or whatever, to the precise minute, we saw how you left your physicality. Is recorded in a digital form. And how the soul of the man and the soul of physicality has left. And there is no function in physicality. You see those, you heard the noise in the movies when it goes blip, 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 and it goes beep. We have recorded that beep with all of you. And the beauty of it is that that beep has come back, and that beep is recorded coming back. And then you understand how easily we can bring you to the point. And it frightened many of you going through that beep. And it's strange for us that some of you did not even felt the beep of your own soul, of your own physicality. And you brought it to be in a dimension that, in fact, you all beat. And in a way, all of you went through that condition. You went through that emotion. You went through what I call dimension that you did not want to be in. And what is the strangest thing is how you all beat together. and to see how you hear the beep of your physicality in what I call systems in the hospital. Now we have seen the beep of your soul. And what we want to do this weekend or next Friday is to see how we can beep the whole lot of you. And in one go. And the interesting part is how you, as knowledge seekers, we can bring you to that point that we can allow you together to reach that beeping point. And for the first time, I shared it with you. Not a straight line in yellow is where you all beeped. The all 100 of you. And none of you can deny it. Now you understand how close we are getting into bringing you into that position. You don't exist in the dimension of physicality. That yellow line is your physical dimension. And we can repeat it. So you as knowledge seekers are learning how to leave the physicality behind. And those of you who said, I felt nothing, go deep inside. Why you have to deny that to yourself? And we have a couple of these blips and we know how to strengthen you to get to the blip. This is the time when you gave the love. This is the time when you left the dimension of physicality and all the fields of the soul of the man became the giver. The essence of loving, which means giving, unconditioned. So doctors show you the bleep of your physicality. We've shown you the bleep of your souls. Now you understand how close many of you knowledge seekers have come close to that point. And there's no coincidences, and there is no accidents. And it took us time to give that energy to reach that point. In a way, what is being short, this planet giving to the man to the dimension of physicality, that it kills for it, and then it dies itself. That energy shortage was given to your soul. And the satisfaction was giving. And that's what we saw with the physical dimension. For weeks, they run parallel and separate. And in a specific way, designing to give energy to the soul of the man, we even proven where there is no soul that the physicality cannot survive. All this has been recorded. How? What the strength? Where and the way we can feed your souls to go through that transmutation. This is part of the process when we tell you, you leave the physical side and we can transfer you to another box and you manifest. Now you've seen the graph out. Now you understand. God of the others, as we are all part of the same God, the same creation and creator. Those of you who joined us last week, now you've seen the blip of your time, where that line only is created when all of you 100 were at the same time in the same position. If one of you jumps, the whole graph goes. And then, as you came back conscious, none of you wanted to repeat it. Many of you wanted to leave the dimension of physicality. And we have all the data behind it. Now you understand. Everything we do is scientific. There's no magic. And we have even taken your soul, the energy of the soul of you, to another dimension, out of the system, to see how we can transmute your soul. One day I explain this process. Gradually, those of you who join us in the sessions to come, you build this and then you become stronger in doing it. And as I said, because you work all as one, even those who are the moderators, their soul become part of the same, because their work is part of, connected to the other souls. So, as I said, for next Friday, we have the whole 100 of you back again. And then the process of every third Friday, which is now been put out, will go into operation till we see a continuous blip from the beginning to the end. And then you tell us where the energy of the soul has gone, when your physicality has stayed behind. And then you learn the process of transmutation. This is the key in your pocket and not mine. And it's the knowledge which sits with you and not with us. We are teachers. We are here to guide you through. And is for you to learn how to go through that process. If one single person in the whole 100 people in the group would have nudged, jumped, the flatliner of the soul would have gone back to physical dimension. None did. So we got a whole lot of you going through it. And you've seen your flat line of your soul. I have 2, 3 more of these to show you. It's not coincidental. We knew what we are going for. We knew what we got it to. And now this allows us to build perfect systems for transmutation, where the soul and the physicality and the soul of physicality of the man goes in his own trip journey. I hope I brought you to a point today. I gave you your biggest Christmas gift. where man for the first time sees the behavior of his son. And you are still here. So you all came back. And you have to have no fear of death in a physical dimension. Break. Take us through a break and then we come back.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, I do have on the screen here the transmutation preparation sessions, which is a new page on the Keshe Foundation store. And it mentions every third Friday of the month from January 2024 to June of 2024. There will be full day sessions from 9 o'clock CET to 1700 hours at CET, offered for those that would like to prepare for the transmutation. You can book individual session or the bundle of all 6 sessions for a discount.
What is interesting is that the last one falls on 21st of June, which is equinox. Right? In the middle of the year. By coincidence. Where the pagan time celebrates what I call the beginning of summer. On the other side, if you call it not equinox, the Yalda for the South people, as I call it. The shortest time of the light time in the northern hemisphere. It falls very nicely with the whole pattern of the work. And it's the way it is. We haven't specifically chosen. We chose the third, what I call Friday of every month. And falls on that day and that time. Carry on, please.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, we'll have a short break here in our 518th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And here on Thursday, December 28th, 2023. And we'll be back shortly.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, we're back again, and at the second half of the 518th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, December 28th, still in 2023. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin the second half here? Or is there something you'd like to say first? Or
A couple of things. First of all, as during our session of teaching today, as is going on, there's another most beautiful event is happening in China with one of our knowledge seekers, the guy who I respect a lot and has done a lot for the Keshe Foundation, is getting married, and I wish him and his new bride the best of wishes. And I'm sure in the future, knowledge seekers, you'll understand how much this little guy has done such a big job for Keshe Foundation. We are receiving the pictures of his wedding, and I wish I could share it with you because it's private. And we wish him all the best in his new life and what he's done for the Keshe Foundation in China. And my best wishes to you, Xiaojin, and your new bride. And I'm sure you feel us with you, and I hope a wonderful life for both of you. On the other hand, if you listen to the system just explaining about the visas, the visas are set to do both jobs, to do the transmutation and, as you can see, physical flight. It depends how they are set to do, and this is what we are doing now. The physical side of the transportation of the resource is already done, is with the what are called the authorities, governments who have already tested it. And now we are testing, in a way, the transportation side of it, which we started. And the first people in June of last, in 2022, when they went in the system, they went to the moon, they went to the oceans, and we did the first trips through the soul at that time. Now you understand. So we have fulfilled what we promised. And these things will go to further extent and what I call explanation of the dual purpose of the system like a resource. You can travel with them the span of the universe in a system, or you can travel with them or transmute with them, both dimensions within the same system. And now we are going through the transmutation training, and as we explained, we showed that knowledge is reaching a point that transmutation can be done, and a complete transmutation now is within the reach of the Keshe Foundation. What you see, what we showed, is the dimension of the, what I call, the soul of all those who participated. That even they say we didn't feel anything, we can show you exactly. If any of you jumped out, you would have seen, we saw the change, because many of you get frightened of these conditions. And that bleep of yellow line is nearly 1.5 to 2 minutes. Our screen covers 4 minutes. So it wasn't a blip, a few seconds. And the next one is even longer than this. And a parallel system to bring the soul of physicality, the soul of the man, the physicality of man in line, we can do for 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes. We can now extend it to hours. And these are important in the future wellness system structures, that where we can bring the soul of the man in that position and allow for it to process itself from any diseases in the space. This is how we will reach the man in the space, and how we'll extend that to go beyond the levels of the space travel. And hopefully in the, what I call, the invitation we sent to all of you who participated in last Friday to participate in the next Friday, we try to extend this, what's it called, physical no motion transmutation to as long as possible. We try to see if we can extend it to 6 to 10 minutes. And then in the monthly transmutation which are set up, again we have a limitation in number of people we can accept. There's a limit, and we start with that limit. Our limit last week was 100, and we took the 100. We can't allow any more in. So if you're participating in the next 6 months transmutation, once we receive the limit, even some people sent us the funds for registration, we send the funds back. We're here to develop a structure of scientific basis, and all has to be done in one go. We're taking people who come in for the whole session of the 6 months, because we're developing them very rapidly to go through the transmutation, and then hopefully some of you in learning it become the teachers, the next cycle of teachers in the Keshe Foundation, teaching how to transmute souls. And this process has started. We have managed to reach that point, and again we have put a limitation on the numbers of number of people who will go through this process. And the sessions to come has a specific pattern of transmutation and by small distances across the planet and the other bits. And then in the second part of the year, when our systems comes to full complete development, hopefully in the section, then we go for the physical transmutation. We are getting ready for it. Development is getting done, and we see how you develop. So those of you who want to join these 6 sessions, I'm sure within the next 2-3 weeks it will be complete. And if we receive any more, as many of you have seen in the past session of the last week, we send your funds back because we have a limit, we have a seal. And once we reach it, we don't pass it because then we can't control it. On the other hand, we still carry on with our development of the technology on the physical side. And I know many of you have reported back to us that you received the first half of your communication bundle. Please, those of you who receive it, till we don't receive all of you, the first batch of the second part will not go out. So when what we call our people come back to work in the second week of January, once we have the confirmation from all of you who the units has been sent to, that you received it, you confirm to us, we send the second batch out. And then by January, February, we keep on doing the what we call these communication bundles in sets of 10 till we complete it somewhere in next 2 or 3 months for the orders we received. And then we go to the next phase. And then we go through what we call bringing in those of you who are satellites and the rest into the process of what we call communication and the rest of it. Are there any questions?
Yes, first of all, Gerhard had a question in the Q&A regarding the sessions. He says he got the email about the second session will be held on the 12th of January, 2024. And he's mentioning that you were saying something about it being next week. And can you clarify this point? Is it
it's
to
the
be on the 12th?
January. It's
Okay.
not next Friday, the Friday after.
Right. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, sorry, you're correct. My mind is ahead of time. Yeah, so no, it is on the 12th of January. As you've seen, we have reached the point of transmutation. And now we go through the second phase. It won't be exactly the same, but it'll be a further development to extend the time of transmutation. And then we're trying to find a way that we don't need to have the translators to translate halfway to take so much time. And those of you who join in this session of the next, what do you call it, 12th of January, and the rest, we try to communicate with you on the, what we call the chat line, that we don't need to talk anymore. So when you come in, keep an eye on the chat line, that there will be no more communication to disturb the flow of the, what we call the fields, as we come in and we tell you something to do. But in general, we have reached what I call threshold of transmutation. Now we can confirm it, we can follow it. And I'm sure the next cycle of the system, which is getting built, to make this one much, much more rapid and very, very fast. So I hope for the next 6 months, 12 months, we can bring you in transmutation systems as we have designed and getting developed. It's a very interesting time. Any other question?
Okay, we had a request from Barang to speak with you here. So I'm not sure if he has a question or something to say, and perhaps you can go ahead, Barang.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Rick. First, I want to say merci to give me this chance. Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, for everything. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
Hello.
clearly. If you can say who you are and where you're from, that'd be good.
Okay, I'm from Iran at the moment. I'm Iranian. Mr. Keshe probably seen my video in Persian session in about Middle East.
Nope.
Yes, the video about the ring around the sun and the question about the plasma.
Yeah. What's the question today?
Today, there is a lot to talk, Mr. Keshe. At the moment, I respect the class, and I just want to ask Rick to show you if it's possible. It's related to the it's related to what you saying in the classes usually. And something happened like during my experiments in nano-coating. And there is a lot to ask because in Professor Parviz knows me. Azar met me in the Tehran seminar. Like, I know you from a long time ago. I will explain you later. Anyway, there is a video. There is a video. If Rick can please play that video, then I will ask my question. But it is in Persian. I can translate it if it's necessary.
Do you have the video, Rick?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one it is. There's several videos here.
That number, I think that number
the one before
is
last.
a little bit related. The ohmmeter shows the 666 number.
You want that one? Oh,
yes,
okay.
that one first. Thank you very much.
So. Okay. This is the one, correct?
Thank you.
سلام میثم جان. ببین حتی تقریبا برق این دیگه تموم شده ولی تا الان داشت نشون میداد. نگاه کن تا حدی بس میشه، میبینی تا حدی میاد. ولی خب میخوام بهت یه چیز نشون بدم. اینجا نگاه کن، عدد رو ببین. روی مال خودت هم لطفا امتحان کن ببین همین اتفاق میفته یا نه. این دیگه خالی کرده البته دیگه شد.
Rick, there is nothing on the screen at the moment. Why there's nothing on the screen?
We see it.
Yeah, it's there. You'll have to adjust your screen.
دور بالا که بزنی دقیقا این میاد. بود خالی کردم باتریش هم که خالی شد.
I think it's because the video is
فکر نکنم به کسی نشون بده.
it is in different probably speed and
we see the video. We've seen the 666.
yeah, that's that's any reason is that default setting for this number or anything?
I don't know. I cannot explain. I've never seen such a thing. So
I tried it on my meter, and it actually did the same thing. Sometimes it depends on how you do it exactly. It's some sort of default setting. checked, to check the LEDs or something in it there. I don't know what else to say about it.
Why
I
it
don't.
should be like this? Sorry, you continue.
I've never seen such a thing, and if anybody can repeat it with their meter, it's something to do with the electronics of all these meters. It's some sort of between the battery and the microchip. Nothing
It
to
can
do.
be just like coincidence.
It could be, but if people can try it and they all get the same, it's something to do with the way these electronics are set.
Okay, but the something is like a little bit tricky. I will explain you. Because like there is 4 numbers on meters, and if we consider the 0, like there are a lot of chances. And why is exactly 666? Like this is little bit like
Oh, you have to ask the people who manufacture these things.
exactly.
So
Because
that's to do with our technology, nothing to do with what we do.
okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I got my answer. Another thing, like there are a lot of things, like because I'm at the moment I'm recording videos for like Iranian in Persian language for Iran Keshe Foundation. Like I started to explain the nano coating first, like the copper nano coating session, and whatever like I learned from you and the system, I'm trying to just put it in. And pardon?
I said thank you very much for all your work.
No worries. That's my pleasure. That's like always. Because I owe you more than these things, and there is a lot to say because I was connected to your system, like you asked to come to the session with headphones. And something interesting happened, like something very interesting, because I have DVT. Do you know what is DVT?
No.
The deep venous thrombus is a blood clot.
Yeah.
In the lower, like part of the body, usually happens in the lower of the part of the body. And I will explain you. I was locked down in the mental hospital because of like Keshe Foundation things. I will explain you because they were telling me you are not existing, and there are all my hallucinations and these things. And DVT happened there in the hospital, because even the doctor of the place, he recognized that this is something going on in my leg. And he said it should be sonography as soon as possible, but they didn't let me to go out of the place that I was locked down because they're afraid I escape. Anyway, there are a lot to say. I was in the process of translating your books in that time. You can ask Mr. Parviz if you want. And I just borrowed the mobile phone in the car that was transferring me from one place to another, like the place that I was locked down. I just paid the man, and he borrowed the phone. I called Dr. Parviz, and I said, this is the situation. They're taking me out. I don't know where to come back again and continue. And anyway, I just want to say there is a good news. I don't want to take the class time. There is a good news. I did sono yesterday, and amazingly, my clots from like my hips to my ankle, they absorb by veins, and some of them even moved. And this is like some people call it miracle, but I was connected to your system. That's like explanation. Anyway, and there is a lot to say. I don't want to take the time of the class. We can talk later if you let me, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. But you have to understand these could be due to other factors than just the sessions, but it's how you take it. You take it up to yourself. Thank you very much anyway for everything. And I wish you all the best.
No worries. I just wanted to ask your opinion about the Persian language videos that they are in the process. I recorded did so many amazing things came up during the nano process, because I'd even put the calcium calcium pills a part of inside the container of the nano NaOH things, and there are some interesting things came up. I can send you the videos and talk about it later if you want.
No problem. Share it with.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And okay, we can carry on here. We have a question from Saeed from the Q&A, who asks, Bob Lazar claims that element 115 is the fuel for alien spaceships. What is your idea about element 115?
Who's alien and who's a spaceship? What is 115?
Well, it's the element they haven't really discovered, or they have discovered but only lasts for a very short amount of time, or they've only made a few atoms of it or something like that.
Exotic materials.
Pardon me? What materials? You broke up there.
They call it exotic matters.
Yeah, it's the heaviest element so far, I guess. So far, that is.
I don't know. Whatever we don't have, we can talk about it as much as we like, because we don't have it, so we can make a speculation. But 115 is not the heaviest of the elements in the universe.
They're talking up to 250 in the stars that create elements now, apparently.
Yeah, this is whatever we look at this funny part of it. What happens when your soul lands in one of these planets with 250? What would you come out of? Would you be a stone or a dust or a gas? Or which one you decide to be? Any other question? At the moment, there is a lot of work going on with the new elements, with creating elements with high voltages and all sorts. Creating matter at the low level is never been done. Never been done, because man looked at the whole technology upside down. And in the future, we'll show that all elements are created at lower temperatures and very few different direction of the science of the man as we are pushing it today. Very, very much different. Any other question?
Well, you mentioned being exposed by rays and fields and so on, and we had a bit of a discussion of that idea in the plasma reactor group. So the concept is either how do we protect ourselves if we were to be exposed to those more direct, more from the source fields, let's say, that our physicality may not normally be able to withstand. Can we protect ourselves in some way, or can we alternately become invisible to those fields and rays so that it passes through without any harm or damage, much like we have high energy cosmic rays going through us all the time. Apparently, billions per square centimeter go through our skin and so on. And yet we're not harmed by those. But if we were at a certain other frequency, maybe we would tend to block them, or if we were of a different level.
There's a way to handle not only radiation, but higher strength fields. And we cannot do it in a physical dimension as a matter of the body of the man. But once we learn how to expand the soul, we can do so. It's like you create a net for this. When you say, whatever, so much of the cosmic rays goes per square meter of our body, is the structure of our body which is set to allow them through. All our tissues are set in a way that the fields go through. There is no interaction. If you get the interaction, then you create the residual energies, and part of it becomes our food. One day when the knowledge of the man increases to what I call added up to, if you measure the fields which they come, as example, come from your left side and they go out from the right side, you will see we release different fields than the one they came in. Even though we say they go through us, the residual fields, some interacts with our body. And this is how we are fed that 80%. And in the condition of nuclear reaction in the matter state, we learn to use our soul and expand like a net to absorb some, and at the same time, we know magnetic fields can be bent. So we use our fields of the soul, because it's dynamic, to bend it away from the physical dimension. In a way, we show that in Fukushima test. If you understood the field flow and dimension of it, and how some is absorbed inside cancers. But in the future, you will learn how to operate these things, because radiations are field strength, are magnetic field, and you create that dimension that they actually become like a food to you than actually something to harm you. You open the span of the energy, that you absorb the energy without damage. This is what I do when I handle nuclear material. Subconsciously or automatically, I create a field within me that allows their fields to become part of what I take without harming me. As I said, if you were with me with our Iranian colleagues in Tehran, the way I used to handle hundreds of radiation sources with hand, they always used to drive them crazy, but they couldn't understand the way you can train your body to use the radioactive material as a food source, as an energy source. Then it's not a harm, it's an addition. And you can do this with your soul. It's what I teach you is what I've done, what I can be done. It's not something that is a fairy tale. And if you ever get hold of the head of the research office, they tell you they used to go up the wall. I used to handle hundreds of radiation sources just with hand, because to me it's a waste of time wearing things, because I know how to absorb them. And this is the capability which all of us have. It is not exclusive, but you have to train yourself how to handle it, how to be with it. And this is one thing I learned to do from very, very young age, playing with the, what you call, X-ray machines. In the X-ray technology, in medical technology, they make like conical materials made of lead that can focus the field of the X-ray to a given position on the body, that it doesn't spread all over the body. For example, if you take an X-ray from a kidney, nowadays in the West they take a full picture, X-rays everywhere, liver, God knows, intestine, everything gets radiated for them to see just the kidney. In the time where I used to work with my father, we used to have conical things which fits on top of the X-ray machine and fits directly to the kidney. Any extension, any radiation which comes from the tube is absorbed in these lead conical system. It's actually these cones they put on the street with for the traffic, the plastic one, the orange one, is more or less the same thing with different cuts, with different shapes. They put into the head of the X-ray machine, it's got a slot. It goes in it, and you literally focus the field to the position the rest of the body doesn't get it. And this gave me ideas that if the rest can be absorbed, there should be a system that we can do the same. And you train yourself to absorb it. And depends what kV you put on the X-ray machine to intensify the fields for what objects or what part of the body. You can play with this and learn gradually to absorb, to play with radioactive materials without harm. And our soul is a dynamic system. We can do it much, much easier if you learn how to do it. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. We have a question from Hung Yui. Hung Yu. Hello, Mr. Keshe. I'm Hung Yu, a knowledge seeker from China. You mentioned in the previous teaching that Mithra's daughter will take over you in the future, which seems to mean that Mithra is an entity. So can you tell us more about the entity of Mithra? For example, how she was born? What is her relationship with the earth, life, and human beings on it? Is she recorded in human literature? Thank you very much.
It's with all the dimensions of the work. You have both physical dimension and the soul dimension. And everything is recorded. In the session of last Friday, she was present amongst you for a few minutes, and we have recorded it to see how it can change the elevation. And it's exactly couple of minutes before we received or we seen the graph we shown you. It is it's the field of strength which we understand, and the everything about it will be out in time and you understand how and where and everything else. But again, to be there is both dimension of physicality and dimension of the soul. And every time we have had her 3 times in the teaching of past 2 years. And every time she comes in, she brings a change and we monitor it. And the 2 flat liners you've seen is precisely a couple of minutes before. It's recorded, we record everything. One day we unravel what and how and the way it was. Any other question?
Okay, from Ike, who has a question somewhat similar. Will Mr. Keshe now tell us who the descendants of Christ in south of France is? In the past, he mentioned that the individual is a she, and with a popular name, if I am correct.
Look for it. You got to understand a lot about Christianity and Islam and everything else. And how much of it is truth, how much of it is not truth, how much of it is changed to fit, how much of it scientifically is impossible, and how much of it deliberately historians have raised it off the face of the history to be fit. And one of the biggest controversy is not just the Vatican and the Pope, but one of the biggest controversies are on the position of where Muhammad was born. And if you read the position of where he actually historically comes to be born and what is in Quran and where it's now, there's a lot of things to be clarified. A lot to be clarified. Because it doesn't fit a lot of things in Quran when you hear about the grandchildren of Muhammad and about his children and their children. And what happened does not fit into the reality of geography. Does not fit at all. But they made it up and people have believed in it, and it's very hard to change it. But scientifically, the papers, the historical papers, shows Muhammad was not born at all in Mecca. Could not be. He's born in a different position in Middle East. And if you put our position, a lot of things fits into Quran. There is a trip which Muhammad supposed to done to the, what we call, place in Jerusalem, above Jerusalem. From Mecca, it's about 1,600 kilometers. It's done overnight. But if you put the real place where Muhammad is born, is only 140 kilometers, and it can be done with a horse. Historically, one of the grandchildren of Muhammad married into a family in Damascus, where coming from so south in Mecca, it was one of the impossibilities. But if you bring it up to where it is, it's in the same region. It's a few, maybe a couple of 100 kilometers. But at the moment, we don't understand historically how this history was changed. How they moved the birthplace of Muhammad 1,000 kilometers south. And there is no historical word for it. If you read about Mecca, till 200 after the Hajj, there is no indication of the city of Mecca anywhere on the map. first coins appear around about 201, 202 of Islamic religion time. And what happened before? People were there, they were trading, there were money there. We, in the present Mecca, we don't find any architectural data about time of Muhammad, that there was a city there or anything. This is what now it's, they come because they built it so deep and millions of them go on pilgrimage around the stone. But this position has no geological position. Historians are digging into it very heavy, but there's a piece missing. One day we cannot find the literature in Jewish articles or papers or what is stones of that time. But if you bring the birth of Muhammad, birthplace of Muhammad, into Jordan, where he was actually was born, then you see everything they tell us fits. The names used, the families used, all fits. It solves 80% of the ambiguities in Quran, but we cannot talk about it because it's forbidden. But the same as I explained about Christianity and how you got your Christmas. Maybe in the future we find documents how they moved Mecca from Jordan to Saudi Arabia. I'm doing a lot of research in this background to find in Jewish writings, in Christian writings, how did this happen? Till then, we have to accept as it is, but a lot of things, the surnames of the families of the people who killed the family of Muhammad and the position of Muhammad, why Muhammad could have 19 wives he had, and then he forbid his followers to marry more than 4. How we know recorded that he had 19 wives in his life. He said loyal to Khadija till she died when he was 52, 53, because he married was with 24. But after that, he had numerous wives. But why did he forbid them? And then he explains how Quran was written into it, why so much of the Quran is about his wives, how they behaved, how they chit-chat with each other, which is in the Holy Book, and then they twist it the way it should be. There is a lot of, then when you put in into structure of the Middle East, then unravels the truth about Islam, why he chose the word of Islam. Because he was part of the culture of the time. That's why he was so much in touch with the Jews. Why his 14th wife was a Jew. He actually married a Jew, a Jewish girl, slave. And he married a Christian girl, which is his 4th wife. His 14th wife was a Jewish, but he never had any children from any of them. Out of 14 official and altogether 19 wives, he only had
Well, Mr. Keshe, you cut out there. Kind of left us hanging at he only had. Hello, Mr. Keshe. I don't think we're able to hear you unless it's at my end. As far as I can see, we're still Broadcasting. Yeah, okay. Mr. Keshe will be restarting, coming back in here, so.
This is where
We hear you now again, Mr. Keshe. We didn't hear you from, he only had so many children, I presume was the next word.
Yeah, he only had, out of 19 wives, 20 wives, he had 5 children out of 2 of them. Khadija had 4 women and 4 girls and 2 boys. The 2 boys died young, so he had no son. And then that's why his favorite daughter, Fatima, who he married to his cousin Ali, became so prominent, and the 2 grandchildren, the grandsons. He had 2 sons and 2 daughters, Ali with Fatima. They became, because the goes on the strength of the son, but he had no son himself. The 4th wife had a son, and he died, and he had no other children recorded. But is that the truth? Are there more children which are his but never recorded? And we are looking into historical papers, stones, clay writings of life of Muhammad, because he's precious. We have to understand the man is a prophet of God. And how it happened, the same I explained to you about Christ. My study doesn't go just because of Christianity. It's the same with Islam, it's the same with Judaism. There is a lot of mystery and mysticism in the Baha'i faith, and the same in Buddhism. Because when you make it mystical, it gains power. When you look at the history, there is no mysticism. And you got to understand, there's a lot of things when Quran doesn't fit where Mecca is today. And if you bring it up to where Muhammad was born in Jordan, everything fits. 95% of the ambiguities in Quran is answered, is correct, but why people are worshipping in the wrong place? But if you look at the place, the shape of the stone goes with the people in the south of Peninsula, where they ruled. There's a historian which is doing a lot of work in the background, unraveling these things. There are a number of them now in Europe. Some American and the British scientists are working on it to find the truth. But the thing is, then you get the Islamic world telling you they are against the faith and the rest of it. These are enemies of Islam and the rest of it. You cannot deny historical papers, stones, which are from thousands of years ago. We cannot do, unless it fits other people. So when we speak about the child of Christ, which went across France, and a lot of you use the name of Fatima. Very common. It's not just Islamic. A lot of Christians in Europe, in Spain, and we use that name. That's an Arabic name. It's a Middle Eastern name. It's where Christ came from. We look at the historical paper documents. When you speak about Dawood, which his father-in-law wanted to kill him, and he did everything we hear about him in a Jewish religion. Then you come to the point of him escaping in the Jewish literature and hiding in a cave where there was a, what do you call it, a spider knitted the front with a bird outside, that the soldiers of the father-in-law couldn't find him to execute him when he was in the cave. This goes back 4,000 years before, 3,000 years before Islam. And then you see the same thing in history of Islam, where Muhammad went in the cave and it was a nest of birds and a spider, and it's a big revelation in what do you call it, in Quran. Are we living in the same area? Are we talking about the same story? How come we have it in Judaism and the same spider appears in Islam 2,000-3,000 years later? And if you are a very good Scottish guy, you have it in Scottish history as well. So it's a big mysticism in Islam that Muhammad went in a cave and there was a spider. It's a very big part of the Islamic religion. But being half Jew, knowing part of Jewish history, read about the life of Dawood, 2,000 years ago, the same spider appears. Does God have a specific spider for the prophet? Or this is the mystery of religion? Don't take my word, go into the history book. History books never lie, especially when 2 or 3 historians, which are of the same time, one could be copying the other, but you see the language. And then you understand. And a lot of other things come into light. You take out the parts which they are trying to make history out of Quran and all this mysticism and people will give their lives for. Read it from angle of the Jews, the Christians, and what the Muslims write about the same event. And somewhere between 2 or 3, you find the truth. Then we tell you about the history, not about the man and the religion. And this is why I call, there is no magic to take out. There is no mystery to take out of the Keshe Foundation. It's a knowledge. It's not a religion, it's not a sect. It doesn't bring something for you to believe in something and some no magics with it. So, you want the name there, you find out how come we have the same spider of both religions 2,000 years apart. Knowing they both come from the same region. You speak to the Jews, they tell you about the spider and the bird. From thousands of years before Muhammad. You talk to the Muslims, this is one of the biggest events in the history of Quran. But if you know and read the history, Muhammad didn't hide in a cave, he went in the opposite direction cave as they were expecting him to go to. So he wasn't hiding, he knew his enemies were gonna go that way to get him. He went the opposite, stayed in the cave, and then when the time over, he came out. So they knitted the history of Judaism, which again was another fantasy for the Jews, from David time into Muhammad. We don't touch the person, we read the history. And it's the same with Iran's kings. There's a lot of mysticism, but as I said earlier, the word of Shah means God. Again, in the ancient time, when we call it Shah, and Shah means God of the gods, because they believed in a God and the children of the gods. So it was gods and then the father of the gods. And they put that in the name of the king, and everybody believed them. They are the God of the gods. They come from God. That's what the name of Shah means. And you change it into king because it fits into another part of the culture when they change the word. Shah and Shalom come from the same creator. Jerusalem is the same direction of the city to the east where peace is. Now we understand the history of the religions or mysticism of the religions past, then it's very easy to follow. I do a lot of research into this to untangle the truth about what is in the background of the religions. Don't disrespect the prophet. Understand what is written about historically about the cycle of life. The rest, a lot of it is added to fit. A lot of it added to fit. And why all the religions come using the same name base and area, not from somewhere else. Historians don't bring up any name like Ali, Hassan and the rest, where Mecca is today, from the time of the historian. These names belong to Jordan area, has done for centuries. Never appeared in the back end of the Red Sea, the end of the Saudi Peninsula, the bottom end. And now it's become, there's a lot of work is going on with a lot of scientists, historians, going through the books, going through historical books about the religions. And anybody comes out with the truth is the enemy of Islam. It cannot be enemy when the truth is there. If you look, the original mosque, the first mosque ever built, is not built facing Mecca. Today's Mecca is built facing the place of birth of Muhammad. Again, there's a historian who's dug out physically, scientifically, that if you look at the first 100, 150 mosque which was built before 150, 200 years of the Hijri, which is the Islamic date, all face towards the birth of Muhammad in Jordan. When they moved the Mecca to the south, they all built the mosques toward the south. Because if you're a Muslim, you know, the wall facing wall which you pray is the wall of Mecca, it's called. It's not that when you go to a mosque, you face, everybody faces one direction. The mosque, the wall of the mosque is like a castle built, the praying wall is called the wall of Mecca, to the direction of Mecca. Doesn't matter where, if you're in the South Pole, you build it towards the north, the wall of the, where people pray towards. And all the walls of the mosques which are built prior to moving Mecca to the present position are facing Jordan. 120, 150 of them. Because Muhammad said to pray to that. And they built it to pray to that. Why did it suddenly change to present Mecca 150 years after the death of Muhammad? These are the data we don't have. We have to dig into and scientifically find out why. But these walls of mosques built centuries ago are there. We cannot deny it. So, and the angle of change is so much is that you cannot say, oh, it's on the way of it. No way is on the way. Even the mosque which was built in the southern point of Saudi Arabia of today points out to the birth of Muhammad in Jordan. Doesn't point out towards Mecca. No way. Then you understand. Even the stone of Mecca is built, if you put the praying wall on it, towards Jordan. The stone which, the wall which everybody prays to, is built. When they built this mosque, originally was built to, as Muhammad said, pray to the place where he was born, which again Jordan. But the historians have to become more, the knowledge has to spread more, and then we understand more. Then we take mysticism out and we have respect for the Prophet. The true Prophet, the real message. Any other question?
Mehran says he would like to talk to you about the subject. Go ahead, Mehran.
Hi again. Mr. Keshe, the things that I wanted to discuss today is related to that exactly that number. Because when we try to upload the first video in the Apparat service of Iran, me and Farhad and a lady from France, it was a Persian, she was a Persian lady. I cannot remember her name, but it was a video of three of us, and we decided to upload it in Apparat to like introduce what is Keshe Foundation. The first video and the only video I can like show you, I can screenshot, find it and show you like with the date. It was your name, Professor Mehran Tavakoli Keshe, and in Persian, like, and the thing is, like, the interesting thing is, it's a video. The picture of the video, like the picture you see in the for a start, is a like a man, old man, like a Zeus, with the sticker in his hand with three like things like a demon tail, and the raid is coming out of the like that arrow, like three arrow things, and he's riding a white horse in the sky. And the video is starting a person who like opening a Bible and explaining that there is a sign of like 666 or like Dajjal in like Persian or Sanskrit language. And one of the sign is like he introduced to the nations by the king. And the king of the Belgium like introduced Mr. Keshe. Like this is one sign. And anyway, Like, Mr. Keshe, you know what's going on, like in the cultures and society of Iran, like and Iraq or like Afghanistan or whatever. Like, if some people, like crazy people, like fanatic people, or radical people, or people like are very like false, like introduced to the religion, if they just hear like the name of the Dajjal or Antichrist or 666 or whatever anyone calls it, they can kill it easily. And I was like confronted with this thing in Iran to introduce you. Like,
So,
why?
Bahrain, why do you bring it up in our show here now if it brings all that
Pardon?
stuff on?
Beg your pardon?
If those images and words bring all that trauma and chaos to people, why do you bring it into this workshop now? What's the purpose? What is it that you need to know about this?
Like, is that with purpose? Like, these things is happening with purpose, because even a video in YouTube, and some people like refer to it, and they giving a flag, like, and is like part of the class of the Mr. Keshe, is like the video, like if you just type Keshe, like Keshe.
Oh,
Yeah, but what we're
you're
trying to understand, what Rick is asking you, is why you're bringing this subject up here. The
yeah,
thing
it's
is, we are not.
basically dealing with
Mr. Keshe,
trolls, and Mr. Kesh has two
Mr.
words
Keshe,
to
can
deal with.
I?
Mr. Kesh has two words to deal with trolls like that. Ignore them. Those are the two words he told me years ago, and it solved so many problems for me. And I give you that advice now. Ignore them. Just
I
ignore them.
I do. That's not the
Okay,
Yeah,
then
problem.
there's
you
not a
see,
problem then.
let me explain to you something very simple. A lot of work we do brings a lot of changes which a lot of people don't like. And what, especially now, scientifically developing what we call energy transfer, is not even in a dream of the present scientists to do it the way so simply can be done. So they have to make something out of you, and we don't care what they make. As I said to someone very recently, Keshe Foundation was on magazines, newspaper publications till 2012. Till August of 2012, there wasn't a day, there was not a journal or article about Keshe Foundation, the work we do. And since 2012, we are not allowed to publish anything. Even people who do research on our work, and even to put it as an index into the research papers, PhDs, they're told their PhD will not pass unless they take it off. We know hundreds of cases like this. So the truth will not change, the fact won't change. And we sit to work in that way. The only thing the denial in order do, it delays the process of doing a lot of things good for humanity. So let it be. They can write, the trolls can do whatever they like. We've seen it. We had people inside us who went, and how many? 3,000 entries from June of 2020 till September of 2022 has been put out by one person, 3,000. And then they gave up. So what did all that do? It brought more people in to read what this guy says. So we don't care. Literally, to me, the more they write wrong, people one day listen, come in and find out, and it brings more people to understand than actually what is written. We had a case very recently, some of the knowledge seekers in the background know. A government literally went out to uproot Keshe Foundation in different ways. And then they couldn't do it. And the last verdict of them in pages of report says everything about wrong, which is on the internet reported about Keshe Foundation, but we cannot find any reason for it. That's the conclusion of official research. Because even the government's now realizing trolls can write whatever they like, we can claim whatever they like, we say whatever it is, they change it the way they like. It doesn't affect, because we're not creating a sect, we're not creating a religion. We are teaching the scientific way to be able to use the environment to the benefit of man and innovation of the man in knowledge. All these kings, all these ayatollahs, they all will die. They all go. But the knowledge which is the history will take the name of them, they become something. But the knowledge your great grandchildren and your God knows 1,000 generations line learn how to use the gases, how they change their pain and the rest of it. It stays as a common knowledge. And that's what the purpose is. And in fact, it's irrelevant what they write and what they do, because we are here to change knowledge of man for centuries and 1,000 years to come. None of us have always, I said into one of the lectures, we talk about the Dariush and Kurash, how great men were and how peaceful was. How come the children of that king or kingdom 2,000 years later have become the scourge of humanity? Because the American and Israeli decided to be. So, but the love and the culture of the Iranian poetry and the carpets and the rest of it stays, which is the culture of the nation. Doesn't matter who said what. Our work is to bring the change in the knowledge, not in whatever they write. It's all in the danger. This is all what we said, for example, with Corona and how research we did in Iran and the rest of it. And now we see what is coming up in the West. Read the British papers in the first months of this year. There is a huge increase in death. And the only concern is not that there's a huge in death. The insurance companies cannot pay the insurance covers and they're under pressure. If you have 20,000, 28,000 extra deaths in one country, and each one has got 100,000 insurance cover, which is very normal cover nowadays, then you have to understand where the insurance companies are going to find so many billions to pay. And what happened with Corona? The financial terms are dictating. You put 28,000 multiplied by 100,000 each, you have to find 2.8 billion. Who's going to pay for it? And then you understand when we said Corona can be handled in different ways as an energy with a crisis, and what's to come will not be there. But it's the cycle of life. We have to learn. Knowledge seekers who use the gases are still here. And it comes in the future how to do with energies and transfer of energies and viruses and the rest. Any other questions?
Mr. Keshe, sorry, I want to ask. Like there are a lot things, like because I'm doing the videos for like teaching nano coating, and it needs like someone's the opinion. Who do you suggest in Iran or whatever? I know Youssef, I know Maysam, I know like some people.
Each one does their own way.
Yeah,
Well,
and so it doesn't matter whatever. Like I learn, like I can produce videos, and it doesn't matter. Like
you have
come.
to transfer the knowledge the correct way. Consult with them
Exactly. That's what I'm
way.
talking.
Consult with 2 or 3 people in Iran who do it and how they do it, and make an opinion of it and do it. It's not going to be wrong. It's not going to be right. But somewhere down the line, people learn and do, and they will go with it. It's like people who are doing in Brazil. They still teach how to make, but not always. You knowledge seekers have not. If you put the total knowledge of gas making at 100, what all of you do is doesn't even reach 1% of what you can do with gases, how produce gases. So there's a lot of other ways to do it, a lot of other add to gas production. And maybe even if you make a mistake, enlighten somebody to develop a new way with it. As long as you produce material which can behaves like energy packs, you call it gases, so it cannot be wrong.
Something happened during the nano coating process, and I said I tried to make a calcium gas too, like same in the same container that I was doing coppers for nano coating, and I made a simple coil with 9 gauge, 9 round. Sorry, 9 round of I had some one time you said like 9 around is good, and is ideal around for coils, like percentage something from 9, like 9, 18 or after. Is that correct?
It depends how you use it and what purpose.
For magraphs.
For magraphs, what do we use, Rick, for magraphs? Is it 40?
40.
40 something and 80, I've forgotten what number of coils numbers we use.
I think it's
people,
sorry.
we have passed the magraph and gas production a long time ago, but these are all in a lot of teaching on the Keshe Foundation website. Go, if you need to do anything educational, go to the education part of the Keshe Foundation. They're all sitting in there somewhere.
Okay, thank you very
There
much.
is a lot of job done by the Philippine team and the Americans, especially. John did a lot of work with the magraphs. Go in there and you find out. Iran team has made a huge successful magraph systems.
Where, sorry?
The Iranian team have made
Iranian. Yeah. Is I saw it in the market, like in the online shop, and everyone is happy. Like there is a rate, everyone can put his star for rating, like everything.
The Iranian magraphs. You can now purchase the Iranian goods through another channel, through Amman, that you can purchase goods, and it's sold the same technology out of Amman. And
exactly.
Mehran has mentions in the chat there was 81 coil and 144.
Yeah, something like that.
Mr. Keshe, I just one question, and I'm not going to talk more in this session. Just one question. Can I please ask in Persian, because I want to know the exact thing.
Yep.
اوکی سلام مثل کشه عزیز باز هم میگم ممنون از شما من سالهاست که کلاس های شما هستم میگم در پشتم خلاصه با پرویز عزیز با آذر دیداری داشتم هستیم یعنی در واقع تیم ایران یه جورایی میشناسم بچه ها رو لطف کردن یوسف جان داداش من اومد کنفرانس شما تو لندن ببخشید خلاصه اگه چیزی بود چون گفته بودین لباس کد باشه دیگه وقت نکرده بود لباس کد بپوشه من این مسئله پام همین دیویتی لخته صدای منو دارین؟
بله.
این الان دیروز که من سونو کردم بعد از اینکه جلسه شما که نشستم با هدفون و در واقع اون جلسه ای که بحث کرده بودیم ما رو این سونویی که یه تغییری ایجاد شد اول که اون جلسه چیز نشسته بودم
هیچ جواب پزشکی نمیتونم بهتون تو این جلسات بدم
باش من متخصص هستش خیلی هم خوبه باشه فقط لازمه که من دوباره وصل بشم به این قضیه چون بچه تهران مثل که دارن این کار انجام میدن
فعلا نداریم چنین برنامه دوباره
جانم
چنین برنامه دوباره نداریم که
باش
باشه در چند هفته آینده
بسیار ممنون از شما
I just translate. He's asked the same question, the same explanation as before. There is nothing new that we can. And he wanted to ask about his thrombosis, which I said we do not pass any information on the health in this teaching. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A here. Actually, there's a testimonial from Liz New who says, I attended on the Thursday session with headsets, and what I can tell is that my dreams are changed as I feel I interact consciously on each one of my dreams. Thank you. And there is also a comment in German from Kurt who translated says, hello, Mr. Keshe. If we were on this straight line that you showed us from the Friday session, as in outside the body, we could heal through the soul. Thank you very much. I guess that's more of a statement than a question. So we seem to have a couple of people that have successful results, let's say, from the session. But then Trevor in the Q&A says, Mr. Keshe said earlier, you have to go inside to find what you are denying your soul with. For those saying they didn't feel anything in the session, what are we looking for? Our bad behaviors? How the love in our life can get interpreted. Yes, that's the word.
That's the word. The thing is, don't look at time in the sessions. Look at what changes in your life from that time. It's not how you feel in that 1, 2, 3, 4 hours or in the session. It's what changes in your life from there on that you can notice and then realize that is connected to the change, to the session. As one of the knowledge seekers was saying, it's so clear how I changed after the session that I don't need to feel what I felt in the session. What changes brought to my life is important to me. Because we call it subconscious, we call it whatever, but that is the part that we bring in to our lives after each encounter. Doesn't matter in these sessions or you go to a temple or whatever. And this is the beauty of it, is subtleness of it. Years ago, when we used to do a lot of wellness research with a lot of people, and they used to bring they come and say, I apologize, I forgot to drink, I don't know what it is, but this past weeks I haven't drank enough or don't use my breathing system anymore. And I said, that's fantastic, can you bring them back? But what, has anything changed? Oh yes, this. So it's like when you're hungry, you don't need it. When your system is complete, when you don't need it, you have brought the change, the body doesn't need it. Why do you want to use it? And this is a process. What does these sessions bring you afterwards? Not what you feel in that session. Did you go anywhere? But next week, next day, next month, has your feeling towards your partner changed? Has your feeling towards other people changed? Has your trust about yourself has changed? Have you suddenly started changing the way you clothe, the way you talk, the way you feel? What is your art or outlook for your future has changed? These are where these things come in. It's not just, oh, I felt, I traveled, I went to there. And this is what I keep on saying. We listen to your stories. But when you tell us the story, it means you're taking the journey. We look what happens after the journey. I moved into a new city. What happened after that? Did you get a job? Did you do what happened? I traveled somewhere and I saw this. Still the same memories. I cooked from the city I went to and the rest of it and blah, blah. We are not interested in the trip. The interesting is what happened to you, how you change your life through your soul afterwards. If you can record that, then something has changed in the session. It doesn't matter if you felt something, you did feel tinkling in my fingers. I went to see the grandpa. I always say, we listen because you did the journey. We listen to your journey. But how did you feel when you met the grandpa? What did it tell you? As many people say, they sat and they sorted the problems they had with their mother who died, and they start a new cycle of life. That's what that session, when you saw the grandma, does. And then you know you can access that. Next time you want to sort out the problem you had with a son which is alive in another city, you go to his soul, picks the phone up, Dad. Oh, I knew you were going to call me because I'll send you my love. This is what this is about, not how you felt and it tingled your toes and my head went somewhere else and I tripped somewhere else. This is all good, but what changes bring to your life? Many of you, many knowledge seekers, what we read, this sentence has brought a fundamental change. They are in charge of, they are in control of, they enjoy the change. And that's what life is about. To understand another dimension in your life. Any other questions?
So Stephen had asked earlier in the live stream regarding being in the session. Is it a good idea to try in the session? He calls it sympathetic compassion and a willingness to spread it out like a stone hitting water. Not so much the visualizing, but the extreme compassion and giving. A loving spirit that somehow gets returned and multiplied. Is this something to be putting out during the session, or does that really matter from your point of view?
Depends. We are not running a session. Oh, we're all gonna cry now. You're gonna be happy next hour. No. It's you. You dictate. It's your soul. Nothing to do with us. We just create the environment. It's like, you know, you go to a pool, to a swimming pool. We provide the pool with a nice clean water, which is cleanliness of the universe and creation. And you lot are the ones who are around the edge of the pool. Some of you jump in, some swim, some splash, some kick, some do frog fire, what do you call it, swimming, some do back roll, and the rest of it. We don't dictate you, you just decide I do this half front roll and then I do that half back. We just provided a clean pool, the universe. And it's you who decides how. And it's you who decides how they enjoy it. And it's you who decides how much you are frightened of it to put a foot in it. I used to have a personal secretary for years, and you could not get her to put a foot in a even baby swimming pool. You used to bring her into a shock. Just about 10 centimeters of water. She could never, if there was too much water even in the bath, she used to feel suffocated. She used to say, I've never been ever in a pool in my life.
Still there, Mr. Keshe? Hello, we're not hearing you, Mr. Keshe, if you're trying to speak.
But the
It's just coming back now. It's broken up a bit.
the beauty of what we teach is the beauty of knowledge. And you, from the knowledge you gain, you decide how to swim in this pool. And that's all. We teach. It's you who has to decide what part of the teaching suits you. And what part of the teaching benefits you, to what extent. Any other question?
We have a couple more to go. Ione from the Q&A says, hello, Mr. Keshe. You tell us that for the conference in London, a large media company was contracted to take care of the promotion of the event, but nothing was heard in the media, at least I didn't hear. Only through our discussions with representatives of the governments, I believe that that is not possible to promote the plasma technology. We must advertise what has already been physically achieved. Only with what could be achieved, we are not successful. Thank you.
It was published in some 500 different, what do you call it, publications. We received the list of publications. And the back end of the promotion, which we paid tens of thousands for, was blocked by the American government into going public, and we just took it as it was. But they have published in articles, what do you call it, press releases in over 500 journals and press recordings. And we're still working on the back of what we succeeded in London. Still, the work with the, what do you call, and the officials and more officials have got involved is still carrying on. We don't go public with these things because we know what we call as, we call them trolls, how they go and what they do. So it's, the work is still going on. We're still successfully at it. And it's something we accepted in long term with sits with the Keshe Foundation till short term is sorted. But it was publicized. We've seen the articles, and some of you have seen articles in some other papers and magazines, or what I call it, internet journals. That job hasn't stopped yet because now we are working towards the conference in China. Any other question?
Maybe one day the Google algorithms will accept the Keshe Foundation and actually spread the links and so on more efficiently.
We cannot do this, cannot be done. You have to understand the biggest financial structure has set against the Keshe Foundation. And we cannot fight or battle with people like Fox. We carry on with our work. It is working the way it does, and something we accepted. Fox will be Fox one day, but the knowledge will stay.
Okay, regarding the meetings, Achilles says in the Q&A, in the recent teaching just before the London meeting, Mr. Keshe has announced the Sanya meeting and that the Tehran meeting in the next year would be held. My question is there any updates on the Sanya meeting? Thank you.
We're still, I have to go back to China in the new year and sort that final phase, yes. We don't announce anymore how we travel, how we do things, because we curtail it for the things we've seen in the past. But our work is still carried on. Once I return to China, we will announce the position with Sanya and the rest. The year. There are a lot of things for Keshe Foundation to sort out before we arrive in Tehran. We have to reach a point of full transmutation ourselves, that we will deliver it in Tehran fully as a major, the same as what we're trying to do in, what do you call it, in China. Any other question?
We have a statement from Trevor.
Yes, let me explain. Keshe Foundation owns a company in Hunan, in Sanya. We registered it years and years ago. So we operate, when we operate, we establish that side of the company. Still, I think it's there, but it will be sorted when we go back and we operate through the company we own in Sanya. Any other question?
And we had a statement from Trevor, who asked the previous question, and said, the inside of my head started vibrating when you asked my question, Rick. I appreciate this answer, and I know right what he means with it for my own life. Thank you. And he went on to say, I definitely believe each session that I've gone through, the week or two after, I always have things I have problems with my life, mostly in relationships. I've come to understand what happened and get a lot of peace on the subjects. I always go into it hoping I have something undeniable and definite happened to me in this session, though, but which is too physical. So he has this, expects something physical in the session, but he says there's things that get resolved after the sessions. So
shall we call it a day?
We have one more tough question. I don't know if you can enlighten us. I know we are getting late here. From Andrew in the YouTube. Hello, can you explain more about the 9-year-old bride and why that was okay?
What 9-year-old bride?
I think you mentioned something about that in the previous workshop.
Oh, you're talking about the Muhammad marrying a 9-year-old.
Yeah, and it's part of the tradition. Apparently, it's come up recently in the news.
Yeah. You have to understand the culture, environment, and the things that used to be. This is why part of the Islam and the Quran, which we know doesn't fit into the history of the time and the place. One of them is this marriage and how girls mature and how the mentality of the area has been that a child becomes a woman after the first menstruation. She's not looked at anymore as a child. We have made that 18-year-old legal line in England. There's a dodgy position around 16, and in some European countries still stays at 18. There is no threshold, as we say in England, the night before your 18th, you don't understand, and the next morning you're given the key of the house. This was a tradition. It used to be you're mature. In the history of the man, a child was mature when she went through the first menstruation. And it's like the world of animals. It was mature to reproduce. This is the way they looked at it at the time. This age of, that's a reality of fact, it's a physical dimension to it. And they stuck to that. But you go back the same time in that part of the world, the mentality was that women ruled. And they dominated everything. And it was common in that time, 2000 years ago, in the northern part of, or what we call the part of the Babylon and the below that, in the Arab section of it, that one woman had 9 or 10 husbands because there were not enough women. It was very common. Muhammad allowed a man sharing one woman with 9 men to one man having 4 women. And this brought a change. And then there was a shortage of girls to have 4. So they went back to the point of what we call physical maturity. Many of the brides of Muhammad were slaves given to him. He didn't go out looking for women. They're sent because he was the prophet and respected, and what Muslims did, taking over so many countries with the sword, they had districts where they had to pay taxes to. Muhammad, Islam, Muslims collected taxes from villages, and exactly what the Romans did. The two grandchildren of Muhammad, Hassan and Hussein, for them to stay quiet and don't interfere with the running of the Islamic world, they were given what we call the Grand Chief, the head of the Islamic structure, equal to 400, that time, kilos of gold per year to run their house affair. Sorry, 4 tons of gold. What they collected as in their wars from the other tribes and what they collected as tax, these two boys were given like something like $1 million at that time, just for them to keep their entourage, just because they're grandchildren of the Prophet. It's in historical books. They were allocated millions in that time. The villagers collected young girls, the most beautiful young girls, and they sent them to these leaders, Muhammad, his uncles, and the rest who were ruling. And they had a choice of freedom. And they gave these gifts as slaves, as gift to the other slaves or people who achieved something in wars. The reward was a woman plus gold and properties. It's exactly what our leaders do today. And so when they got these women, they're all children, young girls, because they were beautiful and they knew they pleased these old men. The fourth wife of Muhammad was a slave which he gave to his third wife, but she was so beautiful that he took the slave as a wife. But he was as the same slave, he was the adopted son of him. If you read the Islamic history, they just came every day. Taxes were sent, children were sent as gift to the Abu Bakr, Osman, and the rest of it. Where Ali became the biggest problem for the Sunnis was because he took a woman which was slave sent for one of the leaders who won a war, and it was supposed to be his woman or his slave. She was so beautiful. Ali took war at night, and he broke the rule, and this created huge mayhem with Muhammad, Ali being his son-in-law, being his cousin, and they take what they like. And this created one of the biggest divisions in Islam between Sunnis and Shias. One woman, one younger slave, because she was so beautiful. Read the history of the Islam. And we have all these problems because of women or what was collected from the war and given. And most of the time they gave young girls, very young girls, just turned puberty as gift to these, not just Muhammad, Abu Bakr, Osman, they all had it. And they conquered all the time. So forever, every day, young girls were just coming into their possession. So it was normal to have young brides. You have to look at the history of the time, culture of the time, not what 2000 years later we are looking. It was the same with the Christians. In the same area where the what you call, they were given gifts. This fourth wife of Muhammad, which was a slave, came from a Christian village. Christians were giving, the mayor sent him as a, thank for his brought up and given to him. What religion they came from didn't matter, they were gifts. So they become Muslim. During the time of, what do you call it? Judaism. In Jewish religion, an uncle is allowed to marry the daughter of his sister. It's not forbidden. So the uncle sees the child being born and likes the child from childhood because of the uncle-child relationship, and they fell in love with, and they had the girl when she was 9, and they married them. So you don't look at just Muslims, Jews are the same. In Islam, it's forbidden for an uncle to marry, but the cousins can get married. That's why Muhammad gave his cousin to his daughter, his favorite daughter, which is Fatima. And it's the same with Christianity. During the Christianity time, you just blame Muslims. You have to understand it was a culture of the time. It's like a sheep comes to maturity after 1 year, and the ram have a go, will have a child. Confirm the existence. It was the same. Women had no value. They were just a commodity of a war to capture for the pleasure and the rest of it. So the children were given as gifts. Nobody thought of what we call nowadays pedophilia and the rest of it. But the ethic was that you don't touch a girl before matures. So is the problem with Muhammad, with the Jews, with the Christians? It's all in the same area. They're all brought up with the same way of thinking. To them, it was normal. All the cousins and uncles of followers, of people who followed Muhammad, all come from the area of Jordan. They carry the names. It's like me, Tavakoli, I'm from Iran or come from that side. You're a Smith, you're from England. You don't get a Smith in Tehran. It's the same. Abu Bakr, Osman and Ali, and Ali was actually Allah, which is another goddess, another god in that time, and then became Ali. And it's a common word. It comes from 2000 years ago, and he was one of the gods. The change of the word, with playing with the back and forth, they changed the same meaning, but in difference. So when we talk about Muhammad marrying a 9-year-old, Jews did that frequently. They waited till if it was a nice niece till she's 9 and she was married, it was yours. Or a boy became mature, bar mitzvah, at the age of 13. The girl became mature at the time of puberty. Because there was no sign of a boy to become a man. And then they said at 13 he becomes a man. So he could be still a baby, still being in the pampers at the age of 18, but he was 13, so he's a man. But the girl had a sign, a physical sign of menstruation. Many uncles never married till the daughter of their, sister matures to puberty, that they can marry. Don't blame Islam, understand the culture.
So the question comes up, is it okay today in our modern world, supposedly modern world, some cultures or religions might still keep those teachings, and
We have changed the goalpost, but we haven't changed the maturity, physicality of the girls. There's a big problem which lies underneath the boys or the girls, man or a woman. Pedophilia is wrong. But where we draw the line of the maturity, mental maturity. I know boys of 25 that are worse than 11 years old, and they're running companies. Why didn't they mature at 18? You go into a lot of Jewish companies, boys after 13, 14 come into business, and they have a beautiful brain of making a lot of money, but mentally you put them with a girl, they're less than 10 years old. Is that right to get them married? There should be an understanding of physical. What do we do in space? This is what a question I put somebody. How do we know when we fall with another entity in the space? Is it mature? What age? Could be 1,000 years before they're mature. They can reproduce. Pedophilia is wrong. Doesn't matter how you shape it. And our society, today's society, understanding the probability of recognizing left and right is 18. And we have to stick to it. And it's correct, because then they can make a decision. But we see in Islamic countries now they're bending the law. The girls are getting married at the age of 13, but not getting registered, but actually live with their husband. We see English government legally allows girls at the age of 16 to be with the men over 18, which most probably they met in the college or in the pub or whatever. The government's bending the rules. And it's how in some countries 21 now is pushed to be the point of maturity, which is more actually feasible. It's a more correct time to be 21 than 18. So we have to understand how collectively we understand, and we accept society that the child is safe. In Africa, they're married under puberty. In South America, in some jungles, it's still the same. Nobody carries a birth certificate. We have made rules, and in so many ways a correct way. But to bring the whole lot into line is another whole game played. But going back to the time of past, we have to understand they were all at it. The Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, and the rest of it.
So the question comes up, what did their gods think about all this?
Go and ask their gods. This is if
we're right, but the others are wrong, sort of thing.
But let me explain to you. Let me explain to you something very. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Correct. You have to understand something. You have to understand. Yes, I can, because you got. You have to understand when we talk about Muhammad marrying this 9-year-old girl. Read historically what happened. Historically, he liked the girl. It was just about the time when his wife died, Khadija. It wasn't in that time. Historically, Khadija didn't let Muhammad to marry again. She didn't want him to. She opposed it, but he did also some things. That's a different thing. This girl was 6 when he fell in love with her or whatever as a child. And when it came for him to marry, the mother took the girl amongst the women of the Muhammad. What they do with royal families of today to check the girl is a virgin and the rest of it, medically, she was examined and whatever, that yes, she's a virgin, she's a girl, she can be a woman, she's gone through her menstruation. And then the mother took the girl to Muhammad. It was done according to the books. It wasn't that he went and grabbed the 9-year-old girl. No. Read. I always say, go through the history. Don't take what it is. The girl, when she was 9 years old, when she reached her puberty, 9, 10, she was examined by the elder women that she is mature, she's gone through her menstruation, she can be wedded to a man. And the mother took the girl, because she was engaged to the Muhammad, to him as his wife. It wasn't just jumping on the 9-year-old girl. She actually took him, sat her next to Muhammad, and said to Muhammad and to the child, he is your new family and you are his new family. He is your new family and you are his new family. It wasn't done, something behind the curtain. It was when Muhammad married this girl, it was done according to the books of the time. What the culture accepted that time. Many Jewish women took their own daughter to their brothers and they said, now you can marry her, she's a woman, even she was 9 years old. That's why we have so many diseases in Jewish families at the moment. In Jewish blood, there are unknown diseases, inter-family marrying, again, cousin, uncle to the child and uncle to the child. And we have the same in the Islamic world. Cousins marrying cousins, again, their children marry their cousins. So when you talk about these things, understand the history. Understand, this is why I said when you go through history, what happened physically is different than what you want to bring mysticism to it. Today's society, we accept 18 is 18, it has to be kept as 18. And I believe 21 still should be the legal size than the 18, because most of our children at 18 are still children. What's the 9-year-old? And we have to go according to what it is, but we have this difference now in the Islamic world. They're coming with a 9-year-old and it's wrong to our Western society and it's not acceptable. And now you go to Afghanistan today, the mullahs are telling the people, if you have a 12-year-old, 13-year-old daughter, bring it and give it us to marry them. Then you do a good thing. That's what's going on today in Afghanistan. And people are hiding their children. What it is, years and years ago, I used to be involved with United Nations and this human trafficking and child trafficking. And it was always a headache when we looked at India, when we looked at Africa. We couldn't make a head or tail of it most of the time. In India and Kashmir, They give birth to a child to be sold at the age of puberty. And they go every year, people go around the village collecting the children or girls who reach that point, and they ship them all the way from Punjab into prostitution houses of Delhi, and some of them which are more valued in face and look and touch, shipped to Saudi Arabia. We have the same problem with African children, taken from their villages. They don't even know which village they come from. Walked, most of them die into going into Arab nations. It's not so black and white when it comes. We have the same thing through now, what used to be Eastern Bloc. Young girls, very young girls, are shipped out into the red-white districts of Europe, and the governments close their eyes. Czech Republic, Moldova, Romania, all these are still bedrock of young girls trafficked into Europe. Don't think Europeans are so civilized. It has to be stopped, but how we stop it is, what I say, it's elevation of the soul. Any other question?
I know you want to wrap things up here. We have a hand up with Marinez. Maybe we can end with her question.
I think she's going to teach us something. Let's see.
Hello, Marinez.
Hello.
Can you unmute your mic?
Yes. Hello. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much. And well, as far as I know I've heard about Prophet Muhammad. He used to, like a lot of people at the time, marry the girls from other families to have peace between the two. Because when you marry, even somehow in Iran, in tribes, you are part of them. You can do business and nobody attacks you. So I think in the case of Aisha, which was very young, they married, but Prophet didn't touch him until she was 80. And the proof is they had no children. The only children we know from Prophet is from his first wife. He was 25, she was 40, so it means there is no sexual attraction. He married and he was loyal to her until the end of her life, which was old age. And he had a daughter, Fatima, who all the dynasty came from, and two boys which died earlier. So he could make child, but he didn't make child with his girl. And it was just the daughter of his close friend. And to have peace and security, they used to marry. And also in the climate of Saudi now, before Arabic, the girls and boys get mature much younger than the other climates, which are more humid and cold. And so it means that Prophet didn't marry for pleasure of sexuality or money or something. It's just the habit of the time to marry with other tribes. And he had so much respect for the women at the time when they put the baby girl in the tomb. They killed the baby child, which is a girl. At that time, Prophet kissed the hand of her daughter each time she came to see him. And he had a lot of respect for her daughter. He used to raise when she arrived. And that put the symbol of respect of the woman, and which is what we have to learn from it. These are marriages. We're not like having 90 children and 100 grandchildren, like at the time, which we see. They are haram. They are wife and children situation. And thank you very much. That's all. I may be
Thank you
wrong.
very
That's
much.
what I learned. Thank you.
Yes, but they say Muhammad kept all his 18, 16 wives in one place, in one house. That they always had that, what do you call it, respect, that even which nights he's with who, and he was kept and respected. And you got to understand, those of you who you've been brought up to look at Islam in a different way. If you have 1,000 women in Jewish family around the prayer table, does not count. A newborn boy counts. In Christianity, the value of a woman was respect, but nothing else. In that time, Muhammad gave the value to women that even in the, what you call, in the inheritance, they take 1 to 2 compared to the boys. So he raised the level of the respect or equality of women. That's in Quran. We can't change it. In Torah, if you're a Jewish, you don't exist. You're just another production system. And in Christianity, the way we have it, what you call Christ, is just a respect for the woman as it is. And Muhammad, for the first time, put a value into the Islamic world, into Arab world, for women. But if you cross the mountain where the Arabs were on this side, which was Iraq, and the rest of it on the other side of mountains were the Persians, women were the rulers of the family. There's one mountain which goes right across the western side of Iran, where the Arabs were on this side of the mountain and the Persians on the other side. It was totally different story when it came to women. Women ruled with iron fist in the Persian culture. And they were the last word in the house. Even today, in the Iranian houses, is the woman. We respect our mother beyond. And when you say something to your dad, he says, go and talk to your mom, whatever she says. Thank you very much for today.
Did the women
Pardon?
take 9-year-old boys as husbands when they dominated?
I don't know. I don't
They
know
have
that.
a
We know in
different,
the
whole different philosophy that they.
philosophy. Here in the Persian house, even today, when my sister enters, she, even as an older son of the family, we have a whole rights to everything in the tradition, but her word is the last word. Even in my marriage, it's the same. The mother in the Iranian culture, true Iranian culture, is the last word in the house. But she turns the words of the dad to become the last. But my mom, we could never turn around to her. No way. You never said the wrong word to your mother. You never turned in a face to whatever she didn't want. You did your job. You did what you wanted to do. But the respect for women in the Persian culture is deep. In a way, we worship our women. Doesn't matter if it comes in the shape of the mother, wife, or daughter. When you see Iranian men with the daughters, then you understand. We show the love of our life to our daughters, to our wives. It's a different culture. Thank you very much for today. Yeah.
In the Quran, it's written black on white that As far as man and women, they are exactly the same. Whichever does the best good and etc. goes to the paradise and gets a recompense. So there's no difference between men and women spiritually. So go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you again. Yeah, but it's if you go further in the writing of Baha'u'llah Bless's name, he says, if you have enough money to educate 2 children, you have a boy and a girl, you educate the mother, the daughter, as she becomes the mother of the future and brings up the next generation. And their education has to be correct. It depends on which religion we look at and how we see things. But overall, it comes out of the respect for humanity and what we respect. Thank you very much for today. Thank you indeed. See you next week. And those of you who believe in the path of Christ, have a happy new year and enjoy it on Monday.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, the last one of the year.
Thank you very much, Rick.
And we have one more workshop coming up on, well, our next public teaching workshop, I should say, is coming up on Tuesday, which is the 2nd of January. So this is the last public workshop for the Keshe Foundation of 2023. And their next public teaching will be on Tuesday at 4 o'clock with the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that'll be with members of the Universal Council, and people are welcome to attend that. And you can also bring your comments and questions to that venue as well. Okay, thank you everybody for attending today. Today's 518th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit music version. And we'll see you all in the new year. Bye for now.